Hey everyone, it's Kellen Brauer here from RacerX, back again with another race examination video. We're going to highlight a couple things from Glendale. First of all, I wanted to talk about this first turn because it was one of the few areas at Glendale that you could kind of set up a pass. And a lot of guys would do the same technique that Chase Sexton is doing right here, where they kind of arc outside, and then Anderson, who's coming to the inside of this corner all the way trying to defend, then has to sweep out a little bit wide if he's going to be able to triple into the next section. So a lot of guys are able to take advantage of this, and it seems a little bit weird. Like, why don't they tuck in a little bit tighter? Well, if you watch Justin Barcia in the second race, if they tuck in too tight, they can't get that triple on, which allowed Cooper Webb back by. And as you can see right here, like, he's sliding through the first corner, just doesn't get quite enough momentum to get onto it. And so because of that, guys aren't tucking all the way inside through this first corner like you would expect them to, I guess, to defend that inside line with Anderson getting passed by Sexton. And that actually happened later on with Hampshire as well, and we'll cover that in the 250 stuff. But again, it's difficult to apex that corner and still get that triple on, which is why a lot of guys are able to make a pass right there, because everyone would leave the door wide open. Here's another situation where Sexton took advantage of kind of not really a mistake, just really good racecraft by Sexton. This is all late braking under the tunnel right here. And it's hard to tell how late the braking really was, but if we actually go back just a little bit right here and roll the tape from here, you're going to see Roczen starts getting on the brakes right about like there. Like, you can see his body position move. He kind of starts to stand back up, and Chase leaves it on a little bit longer and then maybe starts braking like right about there. So that little difference, it's maybe, 10 feet is all it took for Chase to basically just out-drag Kenny into this corner and kind of just push him out. Roczen sees him there and is actually going to try a really nice move right here to swing out and then cut back up underneath of the finish line. But that was, again, it was, passing was at a premium, so you kind of had to do stuff like that to even make passes. So speaking of passing being at a premium, here's another situation where Jason Anderson and Cooper Webb get into it, and this is after these guys ran nose to tail forever in the second race, and Jason's going to kind of pay the favor back, and Webb knows it's coming, so he runs high, and then Barcia actually repasses Webb down this next straightaway right here. But because it was such tight racing and the lap times were so close, this created situations where you had to try to make a pass like that. You had to force it down the inside when a guy maybe wasn't expecting you, and then Anderson just reads Webb like a book and tries to pass him back to the next corner. Anderson did unfortunately go down really hard in this final race, goes kind of pirouetting off the bars. And the interesting thing about the Glendale whoops particularly, it happens more so here than anywhere else, is that these whoops don't get super cupped out, so they end up getting kind of flat on top, and they get real skatey. So you see Anderson kind of swapping back and forth before he eventually goes down, and that's all just because the tops of the whoops are slick. They're not able to like dig in and actually get the rear tire planted to move forward, so they're kind of skating back and forth across the top of the whoops. Just interesting technique stuff right there. But Eli Tomac picks up his 51st career win, now breaks a tie with James Stewart for second all time. Man, is he on a roll right now. I want to remind everybody that this video is presented by OnX Off-Road. Know where to go with the #1 off-road GPS app. Access 500,000 plus miles of trails and roads, open dates, and public lands. Use the code RACERX, that's RACERX, for 20% off when you download the OnX app today. Moving on to some of the 250 stuff here. First race start, Pierce Brown's going to go down in the first corner right here, and I wanted to highlight this because there's like a little bit of a funny story that goes with it. So first of all, Brown gets a little bit high-centered. He's in the middle of the pack, but then Mumford right here to the outside is going to slip the front end down and go down, and then Brown runs into him and causes kind of a little bit of a pileup behind them. But unfortunately, the race was red flagged because Styles Robertson went down tripling into this rhythm section. Then everybody kind of pile drove into him. Really unfortunate deal there for Robertson, who looks like, I believe he fractured his fibula and is going to be out for some time. He already had surgery, so hopefully he heals up soon. But then on the restart, Brown's actually going to be able to stay up in the first corner as he goes through kind of the middle of the pack right here. But instead, Enzo Lopes back here on the 56 is going to get into Carson Mumford's rear tire and go down. First turn chaos. Everybody always finds a way to go down. But Brown has a funny story about this, so let's hear what he has to say.
I had a talk with TK right before that first main, basically telling me, it was like, don't mess this up. Like, make it through the first corner. What do I do? If someone falls in front of me, I fall with them in the first corner. I'm like, are you kidding me?
And why this is kind of funny for Brown, I mean, not funny, but just unfortunate, is that if you go back to Seattle, he came through the first corner and made contact right here on the inside of the screen with Carson Mumford and went down in the first corner of that race as well. So it's like back-to-back races of trouble for Brown going through the first corner, but at least this time he did get a chance to rerun it and came through with a half-decent start. All right, one more quick thing from the 250 class, and it's all Hampshire having maybe the save of the year through the whoops, trying to catch Jet Lawrence here. I mean, it basically is the same thing as Anderson here a little bit, right? The difference is that his rear tire gets down in between a little bit, which is the difference from Anderson, who's skating across the top, but it really is how skatey the top of these whoops are. And I mean, he does a unbelievable job to corral this thing back together. I think maybe the last four whoops come down to just kind of hoping and praying, but that is a lot of good just kind of body movement right there as well. And again, as we look right here, he kind of like buries on that whoop right there. So the front tire kicks over that whoop, doesn't hit that whoop. So instead of clicking that whoop and kind of setting himself back straight, he has to hit the next whoop, which he kind of augers into a little bit, then kicks back the other way. The rear tire misses that whoop, goes down it completely in between. Then he kind of hucks through these last 3 or 4 whoops and then falls almost off the back of the bike and has a really nice save. Pretty good stuff there by Hampshire, and in the end it helped him to second place out in the evening. But Jet Lawrence finally rids himself of the Triple Crown curse and wins in Glendale, the last Triple Crown he'll ever race on a 250, and he gets it done. So cool to see, and now he's got a commanding championship lead as we head to another break for these West Coast guys.